see the vector then. Wow, mine's a four-door car. But, see, my car's got more structure. My car's much more rigid. Yours must be a lot heavier. It is a lot heavier. The extra two doors do add a great deal of extra weight, but they also add a great deal of versatility. And they mean you can open the back windows, which makes it much more cool to drive in summer. Surely my car's far superior though. It's safer. It's got more structure. But the four-door was actually considered the superior car. It was granted such extra features as these stainless steel window surrounds. The difference in structure between the two and the four-door doesn't really inherently affect the safety of the car. What about other variants of the car? Well, you see, the two-door also spawned the convertible, or the Tourer as it was originally known. It had extra strengthening down the A-posts, down here. And the convertible, obviously, had to have a lot more rigid strength so that the top could be taken off. In fact, it's one of the common conversions today. People get two-door saloons, chop the roof off just here, turn it into a convertible. Then, of course, there was the Traveller, which had an ash frame at the rear. The interesting thing about the Traveller is that the ash frame is structural and part of the MOT test. That is one of the most versatile of the Morris Minors, and one of the most popular. Yeah, but don't forget the commercial vehicles, the van and the pickup. Didn't they have strange suspension? Yeah, the light commercial vehicles had a slightly different suspension setup. Instead of lever arm dampers at the rear, they had telescopic struts. This is much more hard wearing. That sounds great. Can I get them for my car? You can get conversions done. These can add telescopic shocks at the front or the rear, or indeed both. So, we've concentrated on the differences, but what's the same between our cars? What made the Morris Minor the world's supreme small car? Or is it just an advertising gimmick? Well, even though these two cars are 4 years different in age, this one's a 1965 two-door, this is a 1969 four-door, you can see the basic design's pretty much the same. You've both got the high headlamps, which wasn't originally as the car was intended. It was originally intended with the lamps down here. The way you do start to see some differences between the two main saloon body types is where you compare the length of the two-door door against the four-door front door. You can see that the four-door is considerably shorter than the two-door. Now, of course, this is simply practical. The four-door has to get two doors in per side, whereas the two-door only has to get one. So the post can be much further back in the two-door. This means that a two-door is much easier to get in and out of. Got four wheels, same design, overriders on the front, because these are both deluxe cars. The standard models didn't come with these overriders, but you could get them as an optional extra. But these were both fitted as factory standard on the deluxe models. Same grille, same candles, although this one's got the original lights, this one has actually been upgraded to halogen, and it's much, much, much safer to drive the halogen car. You've got the same bonnet flashes and emblems for Morris Motors. But then again, the four-door does have an advantage. If you want to get into the two-door, you have to get in, push the front seat forward and clamber in the back seat, whereas on the four-door, you just have to open the door. Now the other thing is, if you're a passenger in the back of the four-door and it's a really hot day, you get your own ventilation system. It's really nice to wind the window down and just watch the countryside go by. The two-door is a bit of a squeeze, and in the summertime, if you want ventilation in the back of the two-door, tough. It's solid glass, and you have to rely on the front window and the front quarter light. So we've already looked at the late Morris Minor 1000, the last version of the car produced. This is a earlier Minor 1000. This is a 948cc version, so if we have a look round we can see some of the changes that they made to the model. The first thing you'll note is the absence of the large orange indicators. These are in fact sight lights on this car. The car has trafficators, which I'll demonstrate. There are some other notable changes. The sweep of the windscreen wipers is entirely different. You can also see the smaller rear lights down here. In the boot you'll notice the absence of the telescopic stay. Instead there's a simple wire one which you put into a hole yourself. The interior of the car is actually quite different as well. Over here we have the much simpler, much cleaner dashboard of the earlier 1000 and the sort of goldy colour speedometer. This has, instead of the toggle switches, it has pull switches, like so. And you have a starter pull instead of a key switch. It also should have, although this car doesn't actually have this one, glove box covers on both sides. This is a bit of a problem on the driver's side, but they are rather nicer looking than the later ones, which are a bit plain. Another change in the later 1000s is the change to vinyl instead of vinylide. The vinylide upholstery here, as you can see, has suffered quite badly, but then so does the vinyl. So what is it about driving a Minor that's fun? I mean, you know, if you look at it objectively, I'm in a car with the seats that have all but collapsed. I mean, I'm so low in this car, it's ridiculous. I feel like I'm driving a Mini. The gearbox on this particular example is tired, to put it politely, and the synchromesh needs a good few seconds warning before allowing you to engage a gear. The window here is actually held up with cardboard, and the window winder sort of flaps about vaguely. The heater you have to twiddle with, you know, to keep it running. It makes a lovely noise when it switches off. The brakes are appalling. I've got no seatbelt and I've got spokes of death in front of me, and yet I end up with this enormous smile on my face when I'm driving. Absolutely huge it is. I can't resist the damn things. I mean, this has got to be one of the most tired examples I've ever driven, and it's lovely. It's just wonderful to drive. It's just enormously good fun. You know, I've driven an awful lot of cars in my time. I've driven rental cars, and I've driven vans, and I've driven trucks, and the only car I really, really just plain love driving is the Morris Minor so far. And it doesn't matter if, you know, you're trying to reach beyond 60 is something that doesn't happen, or you've got no seatbelts, or the car is flaky, or I mean, this is uncomfortable. My back's beginning to hurt. That is the one thing. But I'm used to my nice seat. So who can say? Who can say what makes driving a Minor fun? But they just are.
I understand you used to own a Morris Minor.
Well, my husband.
What drew you to them?
I don't know. I couldn't drive at the time.
You couldn't drive at the time?
It's his choice.
What was it now?
What, colour-wise?
Yeah.
It was green, split
screen. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's actually...
And I actually sold it for £15.
Wonderful. Well, I hope it's in the end.
I wish I had it now.
Well, they're worth some money now.
Yeah.
Probably no one to hear.
And a cousin of my husband's actually had the Morris Traveller, and he kept it for years. I don't know if he still does.
So that was fun. Bit more,
He didn't
bit more versatile.
use it as a grocery car, you know, everyday work, but yeah, he kept it for years. I wish I still had ours.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
There's no seatbelt in this car. None. No seatbelt. Ah! children, animals, or transport? The engine was actually... Stop laughing! Stop laughing at me!
Ha ha ha!